Purchasing a home will likely end up being the largest financial decision that you'll make in life. But the way today's youth view home ownership has changed. Good morning and welcome to Maryland Today. My name is Jeff St. Pierre. Today we're going to be discussing how millennials view home ownership and how you can find help to purchase your first home. Joining me today is Nina Heck. She's the Advocacy Director and Assistant to the President of Guidewell Financial Solutions. Great to see you, Nina.
Thanks, Jeff. Nice to be here.
So I saw that June was National Home Ownership Month, but not everybody was celebrating because young adults these days, and I can be included in this, are no longer purchasing homes at the rate that their parents did. We're going to take a look at this trend and examine how it's slowly changing. So, Nina, why don't you start things off? What can you tell us about this millennial group and how they're viewing home ownership?
So, Jeff, the millennials typically fall in this age group of 18 to 34. Mm-hmm. I have two daughters that fit into that group, and you're very close there as well.
Just on the outside looking in.
They're the largest generation, even larger than the baby boomer generation, and many of them have grown up in households during the recession that we had in 2008, where they watched parents lose jobs and possibly even lose their homes. Mm-hmm. This experience has made them really question the financial givens that their parents had as more or less a taken. So they have a much different experience about the whole American dream, as it were.
I can see how these experiences could make millennials more financially cautious. So what other factors have helped shape their views of home ownership?
Well, we can start with the student loan debt that they're burdened with. On average, it's about $27,000. So this, of course, factors in when they're thinking about being a homeowner. As a result of that, it oftentimes causes them to delay milestones such as purchasing a home or having a family, tending to be more likely to rent or share a home with someone else versus running out and making that purchase. The good news, though, is that they're an information generation. They're all about technology, so they look up everything, every opportunity. They're well-informed, much more than the parents. My daughters would tell you that. And they tend to have very few credit cards, so they don't have that credit card debt that others had.
I have noticed that. That's kind of funny. One of my roommates would totally fall right in the middle of this generation, and he just got his first credit card not too long ago. And I was blown away by that because 18, give me all the credit cards. That's what's happening.
Right.
But he's probably smart. Anyway, taking a look at the past year, some of these trends have started to shift. Why don't you tell us why that's happening?
So they have, Jeff. We've noticed that in recent times, there's about 35% of them have been the ones that are purchasing the homes. It's this young adult generation. And one of the reasons I think that factors into that is the cost of rent is really gone sky high.
Especially in areas like this. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, everything you see advertised that's around is luxury apartments.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, yeah. So many of the millennials appear to be reaching that point where they're ready to marry and settle down. That usually occurs in that early 30 age group.
Okay. Do these new millennial home buyers view the purchase of a home the same way that their parents may have?
Not necessarily. They have a different, unique spin on home ownership.
Okay.
For example, they may not be ready to start a family, Jeff, but they are interested in possibly purchasing like an urban loft versus the home with the white picket fence that we all looked at, back when. They also don't seem to have the emotional attachment. They're more apt to buy a home, maybe flip it and move on. Some of that's because of career change as well, because many of them are taking jobs that aren't paying what they would like it to be, and then they find themselves having to move on later. So with that said, they still seem to face those same financial realities that other prospective homeowners buy.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about those financial realities? Say that I'm interested in owning a home. How can I tell if I am ready to go out there and buy one?
So here are the 4 questions that you want to ask yourself.
I got my pen.
Okay. Is your debt-to-income ratio low enough to qualify for good mortgage financing?
Okay.
And then secondly, you want to make sure that you have saved the right amount of money in order to buy the particular type of home or the what's needed for that financing.
Okay.
Third, you want to look at the savings that you have, because beyond the down payment, you also need savings for whatever home maintenance that might pop up.
Sure,
As we all know, we move in and then, of course, the hot water heater goes up or the dishwasher
Something
breaks.
always
There's
breaks.
always something. And then finally, just the home buying process in itself. It's a very complicated process, so the more equipped you are, the better you are to make a good decision.
That is a good point because it is a very complex process to buy a home. So what types of advice and education are out there for millennial buyers?
So for instance, we're a reputable HUD-approved nonprofit organization, Guidewell Financial, and we offer the low-cost homeownership education and counseling. We have an 8-hour online course that really fits nicely into people's busy lifestyles in that it's available 24/7. They can come into it and go out as they need to until they complete it. The home buyer also has access to one-on-one counseling, which is wonderful when you have questions about things. You have someone you can reach out to and get the answers to that.
Yeah.
And then also, once they complete the course, they'll be issued a certificate, which could benefit them depending on whatever state or local government programs are available and discounts for maybe the interest or down payment assistance programs.
Sure. Well, let's talk about this course a little bit. What do first-time home buyers learn through the course and the counseling that you offer?
So the first things they'll learn is about identifying the barriers that would actually affect their ability to buy or own a home. They also will be able to obtain and review their credit report and score, which is very important. And then, of course, the budget, reviewing that and understanding what expenses can be reduced in order to make the home purchase more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And in dealing with any credit or debt issues that they may have to work on in order to qualify for the financing. Understanding what mortgage financing products are available and the whole private mortgage insurance, comparing home loans, selecting realtors and the right home that they feel is good for them, and of course surviving the closing process and ultimately becoming a successful homeowner.
Since we're talking about this course and you can find this course online, I figure now's a great chance to break and just kind of mention where this place is online that you can find it. So do you want to throw out that contact information?
Sure, Jeff. They can go to our website at guidewellfs.org, and the phone number that they will call is 866-731-8486.
Okay, Nina, so Guidewell Financial offers home ownership education and counseling. Do you have any other services that may help millennials get ready for home ownership?
We do, Jeff, because as we started in the beginning of this talking about the student loan and how that impacts their buying ability. So we have student loan counseling now that's available that can help them with possibly redoing their loans or finding a better repayment plan that'll fit more with what their budget requirements are and make the house more affordable for them. So they can access us for that information. And then we also have coaching, which is a program we started a couple years back where the coach would work with them one-on-one for a period of 12 months. This can be really beneficial if you haven't really started a savings, but you know you need that, or maybe you have credit issues you need to work on.
So when you're going in to buy a home, it's clear there's plenty of things to talk about, plenty of things you can learn. What further recommendations do you have for meeting this challenge right head on?
So it's not always about just the neighborhood, the style of home, the square footage. You really need to be financially prepared. That's going to impact the type of mortgage and influence the loan rate that you end up receiving. So you want to start by evaluating your financial picture.
Okay. So how do you make this assessment?
You start by reviewing all your income figures versus your household expenses. And I always make sure that when you do these budgets, you don't leave out the things in the budget that you just take for granted. You still have to, you have to have car insurance. You have to have, if you're going to have internet and you're going to have cell phones, you have to account for everything, not just the roof over my head, my groceries, and my gas. And even student loans that are in deferment or forbearance, they're going to come out because you probably are having a 30-year mortgage. So that's a factor as well. You also want to take into consideration the savings. You need not only down payment, but you also need to have that emergency savings.
Absolutely. Does it also make sense to request and review your personal credit report or credit score before you seek that mortgage financing?
Absolutely. I just hope our listeners are already pulling those credit reports because we can access one each year through annualcreditreport.com. And when you go to the website, you can pull from Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian. So I always suggest that they do one at a time and spread like 3 of them out through the course of the year.
Sure.
That way, if you need to make any changes or there's errors on there, you want to do that homework prior to sitting down with that mortgage lender.
What other strategies can you use to prepare for mortgage financing?
So their employment's critical, Jeff, in that, most times they're looking for someone who's worked at least 2 years at a job or have 2 years in that same field. And then also keep in mind, if you have limited savings, you want to learn as much as you can about down payment assistance programs. For example, the student loan borrower should check to see in their particular state what type of home ownership assistance is available.
Okay, so how does the home ownership program for student loan borrowers in Maryland work?
So for Marylanders, we have a program that's called You've Earned It. And the resident has to have at least $25,000 in student loan debt and are willing to live in one of the state's sustainable communities. And you can Google that. It'll tell you exactly where those areas are. It offers a 0.25% discount on a fixed rate 30-year conventional mortgage and the government mortgages and a $5,000 in down payment assistance in the form of a 0% deferred loan. So your listeners really want to take advantage of this by going to the Maryland State Government website and Google You've Earned It. And this program has a limited time, so take advantage while it's there.
Absolutely. Well, another thing I want to make sure we bring up here before we wrap up this interview is that you have a wealth of knowledge at your fingertips at GuideWell Financial Solutions as well. So why don't we talk about where people can go to find information through you guys?
Okay, so Jeff, they can find us at guidewellfs.org, and the phone number is 866-731-8486.
Great. Any other final thoughts you want to throw out there to people listening today?
I would just say, no matter what your age, homeownership represents a very large milestone. It's probably going to be your largest financial investment, so you just want to make sure that you're as prepared as you can be. And working with an organization like us can help you through that whole process.
And just one more time, can you give me that contact information for GuideWell Financial?
Sure. It's guidewellfs.org, and the phone number is 866-731-8486.
Nina Heck is the Advocacy Director and Assistant to the President at GuideWell Financial Solutions. Nina, pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for all this info.
Thank you, Jeff.